you guys, it's your girl Exotical Sauce coming back at you with a part 2 of the Jubilee video that I did earlier in the week. I wanted to get on here and address a little bit of comment craziness. I want to highlight a particular comment that I received when I did my first video about the light and dark skin panel discussion on the channel Jubilee. But before I show you the comment that I received on that video, I want to start out by letting everybody know that Exotical Sauce was wrong. I indeed did not look into the Zoe Saldana, Nina Simone issue deeper. I just kind of went off the surface, and I thought it was strictly about a light-skinned MLS woman playing the role of a darker-skinned woman, but actually it was deeper than that. All of my viewers did tell me she did have to wear like a prosthetic nose and stuff like that. So yeah, shame on Zoe for that. If you have to wear a prosthetic nose and things like that to fit the phenotype of the person that you're portraying, you certainly should just go ahead and let someone who fits that phenotype play that role. So please forgive me, guys. However, I do stand by my other talking points, because what I got the backlash about was the part of the video when I stated that MLS roles should be played by MLS people. So let me go a little deeper into that. But before I do, I want to show you this comment that I got from a viewer, which will kind of help. Like, I want to break it down to you to kind of point out some things and just further illustrate why I said that. So I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but this commenter said, now you are whining up the wrong tree by comparing Zoe Saldana playing the role of a U.S. slave descendant / Black American woman to two Black Americans playing roles of two other Black Americans, because apparently the Black Americans didn't have to wear blackface or lighter makeup to be convincing in their roles. Denzel made us forget that Malcolm was light-skinned. So let me stop right there about the part where Denzel made us forget that Malcolm was light-skinned. Because why do we need to be made to forget that part of Malcolm X, that he was light-skinned? Malcolm was multi-generationally mixed. His mother was biracial. Him being his multi-generational mixture made Malcolm who he was, and it's a huge part of his identity. His phenotype, he was a light-skinned man. So why is that something that we need to forget? If you look deeper into that, that will show you the disdain that dark-skinned Black America has for MLS people. It's a dead giveaway, because dark-skinned Black America was completely complicit with Hollywood in extracting all of the things that they liked about Malcolm, with his activism, his passion, his resiliency, his strength, and his warrior-like spirit. They extracted those things from him, and they found a darker skin, more phenotypically acceptable dark-skinned actor to capture the essence of Malcolm X, someone who was able to mimic his speech patterns, his mannerisms, the way he walked, the way he talked, dye his hair red, and he was totally repackaged into a dark-skinned version of Malcolm X, when that phenotype was who Malcolm was, or a huge part of Malcolm's identity, the way he was parented, the way he was brought up, the culture in which he was raised, depending on how his mother grew up. Those played a huge role in shaping who Malcolm X is. Malcolm X is an MLS man. His phenotype and his admixture is a huge part of his identity and who he was as a person. Just the same goes for Farrakhan, who came after Malcolm, and Elijah Muhammad, who is also mixed race. Farrakhan has silky straight hair. These are all MLS men. The same goes for Rosa Parks. As much as I love Denzel Washington and Angela Bassett, and I think they did a phenomenal job playing those roles in those biopics, I still think that them cutting out and extracting the MLS portion of those people's identity did the film a disservice. I think that it's something deeper going on. And you extract all the parts that you want out of a particular human being and then repackage them in a darker version of another person that can mimic them, and then put them in front of this big screen as this person. That's the same thing as black people accusing Elizabeth Taylor of playing Cleopatra, or all those white actors that played other races of people. And to speak to this person's talking points about Zoe Saldana. Zoe Saldana, her dad is Dominican and her mom is Puerto Rican. And both of those nationalities are descendants of slaves. And the black community loves telling Dominicans, in particular, that they need to identify as black people when, like, despite how many times they say that they don't identify that way. So to speak to this person's point about Zoe Saldana sharing the same history as Nina Simone, she absolutely does. She's a descendant of slaves also. But I do agree about the prosthetics. Like I said earlier in the video, that part was wild to me. So putting on prosthetics to fit a phenotype she should have just left it for someone who automatically had that same phenotype. But why does dark-skinned Black America seem to think that that only applies to MLS people? They don't feel that those same rules apply to them. Let's take Aunt Viv from the Fresh Prince, for instance. Now, I liked the original Aunt Viv. I really did. I thought that she personalized that character and she made it her own. And really, there was no replacing her, honestly. But when she fell out with the producers or Will Smith or whatever, and they replaced her with a lighter-skinned actress, even though Aunt Viv is a fictional character. And don't get me wrong, like, if I tuned into, like, Family Matters and I saw a different actor playing the role of Urkel, I would be highly upset because I feel like nobody else can play that role as well as Jaleel White. Like, Jaleel White personalized that role. I'd be highly upset. But the black community made the replacement of Aunt Viv strictly about the lady's skin tone. But nobody said anything when The Fresh Prince was remade and all of the original actors who were at first light-skinned, or a lot of them, were mixed race or light-skinned. They cast like a unambiguous dark-skinned cast. Nobody said anything. MLS people didn't say a word. And that's good for the representation. But when Zendaya and Amandla Stenback turned down roles that were meant or better, were considered to be better represented by darker-skinned people, they turned the roles down. But dark-skinned people don't feel like they need to do the same thing. They feel like they can play anybody and everybody and just extract the parts that they want, mainly the phenotype and the admixture of the person, and make them dark-skinned. And nobody bats an eye, nobody says a word. And taking out someone's admixture is a huge part of their identity. Their phenotype is a huge part of their identity. Because it shapes your upbringing, it shapes your experiences with the larger society, and it shapes your experiences with the black community. How you relate to each other. MLS experiences differ between men and women. The MLS men have different experiences than the women. And their personalities are just shaped different depending on the culture of each parent, the grandparents. All that plays a role in who they become and how they became who they were. So it's just a lot of hypocrisy that I see that I don't like, and that's why I had to call it out, because you can't take away someone's phenotype. If they're MLS, they're MLS. Find another MLS person that can play that role. And since MLS people are quote-unquote they not like us, according to the black community, then you guys shouldn't have a problem with what I said. You shouldn't have a problem with MLS people playing MLS roles. Because I feel like in 2024, Rosa Parks would be called a preference. I mean, you guys basically are calling her that now. By saying things like, well, she only became famous because of her light skin, and she was a privileged woman, and she just overshadowed the darker skinned ladies that did it before her. Well, in the institution of slavery, nothing was original. Everybody did it before somebody else. There was not just one original slave uprising. There wasn't just one slave escaping, or one unique situation where a black person did not give up their seat on a bus. And I'm sure Rosa Parks didn't think about that when she saw that white guy standing over her demanding that she give up her seat. or those police officers that stood over her and demanded that she give up her seat. And in those days, it was life or death. They could have killed her. She gave up her freedom, and they didn't see her as, oh, she's light skinned, she's okay. She didn't have, if she was privileged, she certainly wasn't treated as such. She was told to get to the back of the bus with the other N words, just like everybody else that was black. She was considered black. They didn't care that she had Scottish, Irish in her background or her grandfather's side. Her admixture didn't mean a darn thing at that time. And that was a horrible, very tense time to live in, which we're very privileged to be able to enjoy the rights that we have now because of people like Rosa Parks. But there, in the black community in 2024, they would call her a preference. Just like in 2024, they would call Malcolm X soft and effeminate and question his masculinity and call him weak. Just like they do all the other MLS men that look like Malcolm, that look like Farrakhan, that look like Elijah Muhammad, Nat Turner, and all the MLS men that are or were before us. Total disrespect. So then this person just proceeds to start ranting about how I got issues and I'm biracial for real, and I'm not really a black American, and all typical type of stuff that people say when they're upset. No real rebuttal to my talking points, just talking about the Zoe Saldana stuff. So I just had to get on here and clear that up and address that comment because it was hilarious to me. But just let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you next time.